Welcome to the E Show, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Founded in 2013, the EHL is your next step on the path to college. Over the past decade, the EHL has established itself as the college placement leader on the East Coast. And now, here's your host, the commissioner of the Eastern Hockey League, Neil Ravin.
Thanks, Jim. And with that, let's bring in the E crew, Jeff and Anthony. Does it feel like we're 10 days from Christmas and, just a handful of games really away from the holiday break? How did we get here so fast?
I don't know, guys. It is beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
I was about to do the same thing, Jeff.
So beautiful.
I mean, hey, the weather's getting
yeah.
colder, the days are getting shorter. So yeah, no, I mean, winter's coming. What I can't believe is that we're already at the halfway point of the season, and we're not even at the winter solstice yet. This has all been like fall hockey. I think that's the more surprising thing.
I do have a dusting of snow out here, though, at my house, Anthony. I'm sure you'd love to have it yourself, but it's not much, not enough to shovel. I will say that. But we also just checked off another showcase, and let's lead into Around the East show with the fact that there was a division that went 14-4-0 in the showcase this past week, guys.
Yes, there was.
What division was that?
I have the answer for you.
What's the answer?
The Central.
Yes, it was. Let's start talking about it in Around the East show.
Let's take a look at what's going on around the E Show.
Around the E Show is presented by BioSteel, the sports drink of the EHL. Use the promo code EHLB1. That's EHLB1 for 25% off when you check out at biosteel.com.
So we've joked a lot on this podcast, obviously, with DraftKings now being, a new sponsor of fantasy. If you were to go back to the very first showcase of the year, the league-wide showcase in Worcester, and you were to try to make your own EHL DraftKings parlay, right? Which I know we've joked about having our EHL sport. It would take way too much work to set that up, and probably not a good idea.
Fantasies a lot. Oh,
right.
That DraftKings.
Well, imagine the parlay odds if somebody told you that they were going to say that Providence, the Apple Corps, and the Rough Riders would all sweep the Newington showcase. That like plus like 5,000 at that point, right?
$10 to win 6,000.
Well, it is not. This is no shot at those teams. But remember,
no, not at all.
The Apple Corps did not win a showcase game last year.
Yeah,
they're undefeated in showcase this year.
Yeah, Lenny and Nick are doing an awesome job with them. And I heard from a lot of college scouts that they were very impressed with the New York Apple Corps. They have this good combination. They play with speed and they play with physicality. Really tight-knit group, a lot of talent. They're starting to bring in some new guys. That Golisano guy, Luke Golisano, with a huge goal, 19 seconds left the other night for the win against Philly Hockey Club. Peter Unger had a really good weekend. Ryan Croshaw, holy heck, was that trade a good one? He's 5-0.
Yeah, actually, I mean, how about Ryan Croshaw? With that trade with the Connecticut Chiefs. He has been terrific with Apple Corps. He is 5-0 for the team. He has a 133 goals against average since the trade, 959 save percentage, video game numbers. Started with that shutout like a week before the showcase with the 87s, and he just carried that right to Newington.
Yeah, his workload's going down too. He's not seeing the 45, 50 bucks a game he was seeing with the Chiefs. He's now seeing around 30, which is probably a nice, healthy, steady number. I actually joked with Coach Caglione too. I was like, is Croshaw just gonna start every game from here on out? And he's like, we'll see, Jeff. We'll see.
Well, I mean, you still got Peter Dunkel, a very good goaltender in his own right. So, I think right now they're just riding the hot hand because Croshaw started, I think, all 5 games since that trade, if I'm not mistaken. But if he loses a game, because that could be a big if now, because he's been so dominant, then you can just go back to Dunkel.
Yeah, I think him and Kyle Spam are the only 2 I can remember that started all 3 games this week in the showcase. A lot of goalie switching, changing, people still trying to figure things out, work new guys in.
For sure. And probably to go back to this fantasy, fictional, I'll say, parlay that we're talking about, which would have been the Apple Core sweeping the showcase. They probably would have been the shortest odds of the three. Next would be Providence, right? Who's had a better year by record than the Rough Riders, but
what about the Railers?
They've quietly won 5 straight games with a win. Also have a win over the Railers in there right before the winning streak. They have a win over the Rangers now, a win over the Terriers now. Is this a team that we're sleeping on? Because they go out and they win all 3 games at this showcase.
Yeah, I mean, even Eadsness played a lot of puck. He played 2 out of 3 games, and I had a couple other coaches come over to me and ask me about Eadsness. They said, who is that? That's in net for Providence. He's good. He's making all sorts of really good saves. Phil Parker had an awesome showcase week. He had a couple of goals. He looked good. Rudrud, Woodruff, Aiden Swain's fitting in well on the back end. He's now on the top pair for Coach Burrow. I talked to JP a little bit the other day, and yeah, he said he likes the team he has. He thinks he's got some really good guys, and yeah, he's basically saying, yeah, take us for granted. We'll just keep surprising you all, and we'll just shoot up the Central Division standings. And now what a mess they've made in the Central now with all those wins. They're up to 3rd. Real tight 3 through 6 there.
For sure. And then what would become the longest odds is the fact that you would have to then say the Rough Riders are going to sweep the showcase also. And we can say this because we had a few good laughs with Coach Lind and Coach Brown. Always. In a matter of 4 days, the Rough Riders matched their season win total. Like, I can't even fathom this. That they had 3 wins going into the showcase, and then they win all 3 of their games there. Those 3 teams combined to go 9-0. Like, you couldn't have predicted this. This is not a shot at those organizations, but you couldn't have predicted 9-0. You just can't.
Well,
right?
I mean, there were a lot of upsets in this showcase where
underdogs, yep. Right in.
Yeah, where you think, oh, this team has their work cut out for them, and it's like, oh wait, they won like 5-1. And some of them weren't even close games. Some of these upsets they dominated, and I'm just like, wait a minute, like what?
Yeah.
The Cooper Smith overtime goal against the Huntsman, that was a really good OT.
Juicy.
So
say goal of the year deal.
It could be. I mean,
and the call too, silky call by Tyler Rago, my man, my partner. And also 2 of those wins for Connecticut against the Bandits and Huntsmen, they came back from multiple goal deficits too. So, I mean, a team, like you said, their confidence meter not too high going in, has to be going the right direction.
How about the Bridgewater Bandits picking up some wins too?
Them too, absolutely. Yeah, called a couple of those. They looked a lot better for sure.
So, outside of those 3 teams also, the Chiefs still won 2 of their 3 games in the showcase. The Railers still won 2 of their 3 games in the showcase. The only team that didn't win 2 games was HC Rhode Island, but it's not like they got swept. They beat the Wizards also in overtime. I mean, this Central Division, as will be the podcast title, was truly, here's your pun, Jeff, the Central of Attention this week, right?
Ooh, I like that.
I mean, like 14, like no other division won double-digit games, and they won 14 games this week.
Yeah, everyone was either around 500 or under 500, as you were telling us this morning before we jumped on for our podcast recording. So yeah, good for the Central, like you said, take them for granted. And the East 9-7-1, North 5-7-3, South 6-10-3.
So right now on the spot,
at the right time.
Now on the spot, guys. Central Division. Who misses the playoffs?
Ooh.
Oh, the silence! I love it.
Oh, I think my phone's ringing, guys. I gotta
right now the Rough Riders are right now the Rough Riders are still in 6th place. If the season ended today, they are 7 points behind the Chiefs. They do have 2 games in hand. And they do have 3 wins over the Chiefs, you remember, right? So they own the tiebreaker, and they play on Tuesday. I'm already teasing my what to watch for. That is a huge game Tuesday with all the momentum that the Rough Riders have. I won't make you guys actually pick one here, but it's
we can if you want us to.
Well, no, it's interesting because the Railers are at the top with 43. They have a little bit of an 8-point gap.
How about I'd say the Railers are not going to finish in last? That'll be
yes. The Railers have an 8-point gap over the 2nd place Apple Core. who have a 10-point gap over the third place Providence, who are only 2 points ahead of Rhode Island, 4 points ahead of the Chiefs, and then the Rough Riders. Yes, it was 3 straight wins here, but they also brought Providence to overtime in the back end of their 2-game set last weekend. So they've actually are on a 4-game point streak. So this division just got a hell of a lot more interesting in a 4-day span in Newington.
Oh, we love it.
So now the next highest win total from Newington was 9-7-1. That was the record of the East Division. The second best division was just a hair over 500. That's pretty insane to think about. Yeah, and the team that we have to talk about first, in my opinion, in the East Division is the Express Hockey Club, who continue to have one of the lower games played counts. As they're
on an 8-game heater, baby.
9-game now, Anthony. 9-game now. And what stands out to me,
refresh my standings.
Yes, what stands out to me from this showcase, Apple Core, all credit to you. You ride the hot hand. You ride Kraushaw. You do it. Boom, go. Express win all 3 games, shut out all 3 games with 3 different goalies.
Yes, they did.
That has never happened before.
I was going to say, can we make a new column in our EHL records page there, Commish? Because, I've never seen that. Koenig, Gerard, D. Champlain. And we've talked about it, right? We can all agree, if we're being honest, like the goaltending seems to be down a little bit this year compared to seasons past. To quote Rick Pitino, Nate Miller ain't walking through that door. Billy Gerard ain't walking through that door. Stefan Kulak ain't walking through that door. There's no, kind of world-beating type goalies. I think there are a lot of human goalies this year.
Jack Boschert?
Right, Jack Boschert. Sorry. There we go. Jack Boschert. But the showcase brain cobwebs.
Well, no, he's an Express goalie who was the starter last year.
Yeah.
And these 3 guys have come in. I mean, Gerard was there last year.
Yeah.
I mean, all 3 guys had a shutout. That's unheard of.
You don't usually even see 3 guys get work. Like usually it's between 2 guys, right? 3. And to be able to excel at that level and to beat some good teams, right? They beat the Bears, they beat the Wolves. What was the third game they played? Bears, Wolves.
This is where it all blends together.
It's all blending together. I knew those 2. Damn it. Yeah, we'll find it. I'll go through my schedule. Maryland, there we go. Got it. 2-0 over Maryland. McElhaney, Simopoulos scoring. There we go. Boom. Done.
Yes. See, like I can say that I didn't see that one because that's when I was at the owners meeting, so I have a little bit of a crutch to lean on for that.
I didn't call it. I was next door calling. So
hey, perfect. But 3 wins, 3 shutouts, 9 straight wins. We've talked about how tight the East Division is, but on today, December 15th, they have to be the favorite. Well, at least a slight hair above the Rangers and Wizards. They have 4 games in hand on the Rangers, and they're only 2 points behind.
Yeah, that's a lot. And and like we just said, with the strength of goaltending, we know goaltending is going to win championships. Obviously, the Rangers have Watson. Wizards have been working a combination. Sorry to Braden Ingram. I heard he got chirped. Thank you, Wizards. Appreciate that. Ingram, you've been there all year long, buddy. I got you. Deserve a chirp.
The Express right now, they have the second highest point percentage, only behind the Railers. Mm-hmm. And you talk about 4 games in hand, only 1 fewer win.
Yeah.
Than the Boston Junior Rangers.
And they're scoring this year, right? That was the issue last year and the last couple of years for the Express. I said that to Coach Coda this past week. I remember last year he was itching his neck asking, "Hey, Jeff, you know where I can find any scoring, man? You know where I can get any of that scoring?" And I'm like, I don't know, Nick. Gonna find it this year. Yeah, he's got it in bunches.
So they go 3-0, right? And then you go to the top of the division, 2 points ahead of them. The Rangers, it almost felt like they didn't do much at the showcase because they weren't like one of the main headlines, but they themselves won 2 of 3 games, right? Mm-hmm. And they lost that game against Providence late where they were leading in the third period. So they're the second team to hit that 20-win plateau. And then the East Coast Wizards, right? They only won one game, but they still got 3 of 6 points because one of their losses to Rhode Island came in overtime. I probably would say I was a little surprised that they got beat up the way that they did against the Avalanche, a team that they had beat earlier this season. But maybe that's what it was. The Avalanche remember that game with a little revenge on their mind. The Terriers split their 2 games in Terrier fashion. Both games were decided by 1 goal. That's just how they play their games, right?
I love those.
Anthony, you kind of mentioned this earlier with all the upsets. The Seahawks won 1 game, but it was a 5-1 win over the Railers. And I think they were up 4-0 at one point in that game too. Like
they were. Remember we were in the office deal. We heard like shot. We were Mike Basile. Great call, Mikey. Shot score. We were like, they just scored again. And Coach Bertoni said that he didn't think that they played that bad. Honestly, he said it just got away from us in that. I think it was like 3-minute span. The Alex Moeller show was on everyone's television, and credit to the Seahawks. That's the thing, right? I mean, every coach says this every showcase. They always come up to us and say, "You got to play the games. You can't take a team for their record. You can't take them lightly. You got to go out there and play." They try to echo that sentiment to these guys in the locker room because some teams look down at other teams, if we're being honest, and you come out and on any day, a team can get your number and they can catch you. And that was the Seahawks. They're hungry. Bill Zanaboni, Corey Ellerton working their asses off, trying to get that team going the right way. And they just caught the Railers. Good for them.
Yeah. And then Anthony also mentioned this team earlier. The Bandits, they get out with 1 win over the Huntsmen, but it took a late comeback for the Rough Riders to get that win over them. And they're trying to battle their same way out of the 6th spot in the East Division. Their gap between them and the Seahawks is a little smaller than the gap between the Rough Riders and Chiefs right now. Rough Riders behind the Chiefs by 7 points. Bandits trail the Seahawks by 4 points. The Seahawks do, though, have a game in hand. And then it's kind of there's a little gap there. The Terriers kind of sit in their own little spot at 29 points in 4th place. Almost like I could maybe text Cody Ganu and say, hey, start getting your ice ready to host the play-in game. Don't want to get ahead of myself yet, right?
Wait, but are you talking about the Sharp Dressed Man that won
the Sharp Dressed Man
Brian Murphy Best Dressed Award one of those days?
On day 2. We'll get to Hooley on day 1, of course, right?
We will get to
But then look at the top of that division. 38 points, 40 points, right? If the order of these standings stay the same, 2 of those teams have to face each other in the first round of the playoffs. That is that's it's a little unfair, right? It's a little unfair. But we've gone from 14-4-0 Central to 9-7-1 East to how about we go to the 6-10-3 South? What?
Where's the purge?
2 of those wins,
and
2 of those wins, a third of those wins were for the 87s.
So I mean, how about the New Jersey 87s? They only had 2 games scheduled in the showcase. They beat the Boston Junior Terriers and HC Rhode Island. And then on Wednesday afternoon, they just checked out of Newington and went right back to New Jersey. That's how it went, guys, right? Right? They checked out after that second win.
Yes.
They really did check out after that second win because, oh my goodness.
It felt that way.
That was a doozy against the Avalanche. Oh my goodness.
This is an interesting kind of segue topic because this showcase always falls around this time of December every year. And it's interesting to see, what guys want to play games after this. So we have 4 games in the EHL on Monday, 5 on Tuesday, and 1 on Wednesday. So 10 games left. Easy math, 4, 5, 1. There we go. No games today, Saturday or Sunday. And I find it so unique because it's like, would you rather be one of those teams that's playing one more game to try and break with some momentum and then go home, or be done? And I think, Anthony, for the 87s, I think they were just done. I think they won their 2 games and they thought like, all right, we got 4 points at least here. They saw what the Bears did. By the time the 87s hit the ice for their second game, the Bears were already done. They had played their 3rd game. They were on their way home. And the Bears,
6 in a row.
I've lost 6 in a row at this point, right? 0-5-1 in their last 6. So I think when the 87s won the second one, they're like, listen, if we get the third one, it's all cake. But they knew the Avalanche would probably be coming in a little hungry after the way they lost the game to the Rangers. And
Jesus, did they?
But
They
this
looked
is
a bunch
like
of starved animals.
when you have that break on the horizon, how do you keep the pedal on the gas to finish it strong, I guess, is the question.
Yeah.
However you do it, it's not what the 87s did yesterday. that's for damn sure.
No, I mean,
Do you
like
hear
you said,
Chase right now? He is just screaming in the background, like having fun screaming. Like, oh my god, he's
my
like,
own
yes,
mama.
Anthony, I agree.
Um,
But about the Bears also, what gives? I mean, it's
I
not
didn't,
like
I
they're
didn't get to
giving up
see
a
them
lot
at
of
all
goals.
this week. No, they just can't score right now. They're going through that scoring freeze. I honestly did not get to see them at all. I think Tyler and Mike called all their games this week, so I can't really truly tell you without my eyeballs on their games. But yeah, I mean, we talked about all sorts of different opponents, right? Too getting shut out to the Express, the underdog Rough Riders beating them. Like you said, at least they're still not giving up much. But
Well,
yeah,
it's interesting too with the
can't
New
win a game
Jersey
nothing.
It's interesting too with the New Jersey Bears because they don't have any like point per game players. Yes, you have James Vermeersch and Corbin Schiebel, Oleg Agorov, who are all at the top in scoring where they have 20 plus points, but
It's all scoring by committee.
I wouldn't say they have. I mean, and you could say the same thing about the 87s, where they don't have any like real bona fide goal scorers, guys who can really change the game.
Yeah.
So I think that with the Bears, what they're seeing is that when you have a couple of their guys going through cold streaks, goals can be hard to come by, and they still have a great defense and great goaltending in Carson Fry. No denying that, but sometimes the team just, and I've seen it with the 87s too, the last couple of years. Sometimes like the puck luck just doesn't go your way. Sometimes you just don't get the bounces and you can generate a lot of chances and the pucks just don't go in.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happened for the Bears. But I mean, considering the start they've had, I don't think it's just a flash in the pan. I think they'll snap out of it eventually. But I mean, they're going through it right now.
And maybe the break for them comes at a good time because you pull up their December schedule, right? You can maybe cross off the 5-2 loss to the Huntsmen on December 5th. That was the most goals they gave up in any game in December, right? The other 5 games, 1-0, 3-2, 2-1, 3-2 in overtime, 2-0. So it's not like they're out of these games by any means. Like they are right there. And I'm sure the way that the showcase ended for them, they said, all right, you know what? Break comes at a perfect time. Let's just go home.
First 2 games back for break, they will go visit Anthony in the 87s. Then they're going to go play Hey Hawaii, Lenny in the Apple Core. Oh, boy. That'll be a fun return from the break.
Yeah. So I think for them, though, it's a chance to recharge and reset, right? But to Anthony's point, for them to be on this reverse heater, whatever you want to call it, right, and still have a 7-point lead in the division is pretty telling to the start that they got off to, right? We mentioned the 87s won 2 of their 3 games. It looked like the Huntsmen were gonna win their final game to kind of salvage their showcase, but then Cooper Smith. If you haven't watched the goal yet, you have to just go see the play that takes place for him to get the tip that he does in overtime. I mean, if it's
Bobby
not
Orr-esque.
if it's not the goal of the year, it's a top 5 goal of the year, like without a doubt. One comment about the Little Flyers that I think continues to stand out that I saw this week, Jack Costabal just has to be like the most automatic on the power play player we've ever had in the history of the league. I'm not sure if you guys saw the goal, but it was like Seacoast is up 1-0 for the longest time. There's a major called against the Spartans late in the game, and it's just like who's gonna shoot. He's going to get a one-timer. He's going to tie the game, send it to overtime. And, of course, they just steal that one in overtime. And they themselves won 2 games, right? So if you take out the 2 wins that the Little Flyers had and the 2 wins that the 87s had, the rest of the 4 teams in the South Division had 2 wins themselves. It's
Stats don't lie. Stats
like
don't lie.
it was a very interesting showcase because it's like the way each division played this thing out, it was hard to predict, right? And if we're recapping where each team stands heading into the holiday break, sorry, there you go. Now you guys can hear them.
Hey,
Maryland
Chase
currently is in 6th place in the South Division, but they're only 3 points behind the Philadelphia Hockey Club, who Bart's had the funniest line of the week to me. He did say, I think someone was talking about stats like you were, Jeff. Have the Express or has any team before had 3 shutouts in one showcase? He's like, what's the record for shootout losses in a single season? Because we're gonna break it. It's like, okay.
Well, funny thing about Team Maryland, I just want to say real quick, is that they have the 3rd best goal differential in the South. So the Bears are at plus 30, 87's plus 1. And Team Maryland, even though they're in last place, they only have a -2 goal differential. And they also have the fewest games played in the South by at least 3 games.
Yeah.
So they have 4 games in hand on Philly Hockey Club. They're only 3 points behind them. 4 points behind the Little Flyers. So, I mean, it's something that we've been saying for almost 2 years now, just how tight the South is.
Yeah. And if
Hugesson played well for them yesterday. It was tough for him to get the loss.
For sure.
Mastowski had a shutout the day before that, so they worked in a couple of goalies too.
Yeah. And if Tuesday's Chiefs Rough Riders matchup is big, so is Monday's Philly Hockey Club Team Maryland, right? So in terms of teams battling to stay out of that play-in game, right? And then the fewest wins at the showcase with an asterisk, they have 1 fewer team. Okay, fine, I'll say it. The North Division 5, 7, and 3, but kind of same pattern in there that you take away the Avalanche who won 2 games, the rest of the division combines for 3 wins. It's I think the North is very excited to hit the break right now. Most of the teams, I know there's a Valley Spartans game in there. Valley is currently in 5th place, so they would be the team on the outside looking in right now, but they're only 3 points behind Vermont, and they have 4 games in hand, right? So would you guys say that coming out of the break on the other side, the pressure's on Vermont because of how many games Valley has in hand over them?
Yeah, a little bit. We've talked a lot about Coach Gustin and his talks with the Lumberjacks as far as going through it right now. But yeah, I mean, they showed some better efforts here in this showcase, and yeah, I mean, all these teams, right, Neil and Anthony, as far as we're at that point where you've played a lot of games, like it's going to take a lot, not just for you to get out of the holes you're in, but it's also going to take another team to go into a hole for you to go up, right? Because that's the weird part, or not the weird part, that's the way the equation works. Yes, you have to win and collect a lot of points, but you have to have other teams also go into tailspins to allow you to start moving up. So yeah, I mean, for some of these teams like the Lumberjacks, the Rough Riders, Bandits, Warriors, Team Maryland that are in last, I'd say minus Team Maryland, the other teams, because we talked about how the South is so tight, it's going to take a lot of work for them to dig out of the spots that they're in.
I mean, the Lumberjacks did not have a bad month at all, because they had 3 straight wins, 2 against the Spartans, and then they had that overtime win against the Bears. And I know the Bears are in their slide right now, but still a really good win for Vermont. They had their one stinker, that 6-1 loss against the East Coast Wizards, and then they played a tight 3-0 game against the Boston Junior Rangers, not on the winning side, but I feel like the Lumberjacks are trying to sort of right the ship, and depending on how they come out in the new year, I don't think they're really in the worst position to be in, where I think they really are a team that could bounce back.
For sure. And you look at Seacoast next, right? That they were probably a bounce here or a bounce there away from being 3-0-0 in this showcase, because their first game they come down to Newington and beat HCRI. That was a 4-1 final. Next day they were leading against Providence lost that game in a shootout. We know shootouts can go either way, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final day, we touched on it already. They lost the lead late and lost in overtime to the Little Flyers. So, a couple games where they could have got one more bounce. They still leave with 4 of 6 points, even though they only won one game. One of the big matchups that I just said a second ago, they have a game against Valley coming up. It's actually the last game of 2023, which is Wednesday, the 20th. That's gonna be funny. There's 21 teams that are like, oh, we're officially on break. And those 2 teams are like, no, we got one more, right? But this the way this division and the Spartans actually play the Avalanche on Tuesday. That's not an Avs thing. Typically, they're done as soon as this showcase ends. So one more for them as well. So the North Division, I think what the biggest takeaway in all of this last year, we were pounding the North Division throughout the year, saying how it was far and away the best division. And you look at the way this season has transpired, you can make a case that at different points in the year, every division has been the best division in that certain week. Maybe the East has been overall the best division all season long, but hey, right now, hard to ignore the Central.
Yep, absolutely. Central, like you said, everyone's enjoying the break. I actually think I said that great minds think alike at the end of my Providence call last night, that I think Providence is really wishing they did not have the break. Same with New York. I know New York's got the Apple Corps have to play one more time against the Rough Riders on Monday, but yeah, same thing. Some of these teams are like, oh.
There are 2 more Providence games though, too, Jeff. Providence has the Chiefs Monday before the Chiefs hopefully aren't looking too far ahead to that Rough Riders game Tuesday, and then Providence versus Railers on Tuesday.
Ooh.
So Railers.
How's that for a barometer?
Yeah, and Railers.
See if you're for real.
If you take away that Seahawks loss in the showcase, the last loss before that ended their 15-game winning streak was Providence, right?
I was about to say, yep.
We have some storylines still to go before we really hit the break ourselves, guys. So, but Jeff, I wanted to get to this before. You were talking about holes in the middle of our North Division conversation. If Bart's line about shootouts was the funniest of the week, what Trotter did, putting a solo cup on a table and writing on the piece of paper next to it, donations to fix the pothole in the parking lot, has to be the funniest move made by any coach at a showcase.
I'm so happy I was there live for the moment. I donated 50 cents, so take that as you will. Mr. Brandon Johnson, Secretary Johnson, that is. And yeah, Trides was great. He's like, hey boys, I'm sick of hitting that thing on the way out, so here you go. All right, everyone get your cage together. Get your cage. We gotta get that fixed. It feels like we're driving another moon out there.
Oh my god! I mean, to his credit, I go in and out the other entrance every time because that pothole is so gigantic.
Jeff, I have to say, Jeff, your impressions of North Division coaches are just spot on. Coach Strider, Coach Sorella.
That's right. I kid because I care. I love
you're the man of 1,000 voices.
It was Brandon and Greg who wanted you to call a whole game in the Trotter
voice,
right?
Yeah. Yep. I gave him a Chiefs goal call and Chiefs play-by-play in Trotter's voice and sent them on their way out the door last night. So
oh my god.
Who has more fun than us, boys? Nobody.
Nobody. For the EHL, in terms of showcases that are left, we still have a regional event for the North teams, the East teams, and all Central teams except for the Rough Riders because they went to the regional in Worcester. Apple Corps plug in now for this one. That's at the end of February, and I know I've teased this a lot, but the more and more we have weeks like we just did, this March showcase is going to be absolutely wild because if these races stay the way that they are, we're gonna have cross division games that are monumental for both teams, right?
Yeah.
And we're gonna have games,
teams home, and
we're gonna have 3 games going on at once, and you could have, this team versus this team, which is South versus Central. Trying to keep an eye on the other game 2 ranks down too, knowing that, it could be the difference between home ice and away ice in the playoffs and being in the playoffs, right?
Right.
So, it's 2 months, a little over that away, 2.5 months away. But
Should I pencil in my schedule for that now, Neil?
hey, Anthony, I'm the one booking the
He's our-
broadcasters for that.
Yep.
Jeff was in the room when I said that to Dave,
I was
right?
just gonna say you were on the top of the list, but I will not be there too. So I'm gonna sharing is caring. So have at it. I'll miss you guys. And also just a reminder to all the coaches and anyone else, you wanted this. You asked for a showcase at the end of March. So we do not want to hear any crying if someone does end up getting sent home because of a showcase game and they lost. You asked for it. You voted. You said yes.
Yes. It's almost like
Here you go.
It's almost like we should have some sort of like EHL like live red zone going on at the time, because like the different clinching scenarios could be unfolding that quickly in front of us. So stay tuned. I'm gonna think about that a lot over the holiday break. But we do have to touch on the EHLP as well. Not as many games left. I think they have only maybe 9 or so themselves between now and the start of the holiday break. But there are some good ones, coming up here. I know on Tuesday the Railers play the Chiefs. Last time those two teams faced off, it was a 1-0 overtime game. But working our way down, starting in the New England division, heading into the break, Adirondack has a 7-point lead in their division, and they have a 3-3 this weekend against Vermont. And I know we've kind of said this in the past, guys. You can't go into that thinking, what happens if we sweep, but maybe they have an 87s mentality. Let's get 4 points and then whatever, right? But if Adirondack was to get 4 more points at minimum, right? And increase their lead from 7 to 10, 11, 12 potentially, they'd have to feel pretty good heading into the second half of the season that the number 1 seed is theirs, correct?
Yeah, I would definitely say correct, Neil, correct. If you can, anytime you can develop a double-digit points lead minus maybe like the first week of the season, I would say you'd feel pretty confident about your standings, pun intended. Yeah, especially with the team as good as the Adirondack Junior Thunder are. Yeah, I would say as good as the Avalanche and Wolves are, if you start developing a double-digit lead at that point in the season, that barring any unforeseen disasters, you should take the first spot. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. So, like I said, those 2 teams, I should say, play 3 times a piece. There's no more Wolves or Avalanche games actually before the break. So 2 teams done, 2 teams left to go. You head to the Boston division next, and
what a mess still, huh? Good mess.
Good mess. It's a good mess to have, right?
Good, and good. Best, and better.
It's funny how almost identical the records are in a way, right? 23 wins for the Railers, 21 wins for the Rangers, and then look right below them. Valley has 14 wins, 6 losses, and then 2 in overtime, 1 shootout, and literally 1 game difference. 13 wins for the Express, 6 regular season losses, 2 overtime losses, 1 shootout. Remember, 3 plays 6 and 4 plays 5 in order to get down to 4 teams in the EHLP for the Boston and Mid-Atlantic divisions.
The 4th place team has a 659 points percentage. And here's another fun stat. The Railers have a plus 70 goal differential. I'm talking about, but their plus 70 is higher than 6 teams' total amount of goals they scored.
It's kind of laughable because it's just like it's back to the comment I made about the EHL, right? Every division is different every single year. And right now, the top 4 teams in this division of the EHLP are amongst the top 7, 8 teams in the league. They almost have half of the top of that top tier, you could say, right? But again, not to get ahead of the Seahawks or Bandits, but you feel a lot more comfortable having a bye in that playing round than having to get out there and play those games. And also recording this podcast on the 15th to wrap up the EHLP with the Mid-Atlantic Division. We finally get our first 87s Renegades game of the year. We've been waiting for this one for a while, I feel like. The Renegades for a long time were in first place in this division, but the Huntsmen have really been strong the last month and a half. They have 2 games left this week against the Chiefs this weekend, who were a team they split against right before Thanksgiving. So I'm sure they'd love to get a little bit of revenge there. But Anthony, in terms of this Mid-Atlantic Division, anything stand out for you leading into the holiday break, or is it just the Huntsmen continue to kind of set the pace and everyone try and keep up right now?
I think the Huntsmen are definitely setting the pace right now. They're looking for a chance to really run away with the division. They've won their last 4 games against the 87s P team, and it looks like it's starting to become sort of that 2-team race again. I think, if anything, maybe the Renegades are thinking, wait, maybe we should have faced the 87s a bit earlier because the Renegades seem to be falling a bit back down to earth. Yeah, maybe if they face New Jersey a little earlier this season. I mean, not to say that the Renegades can't get a win, because the 87s have been playing up and down themselves. They, last week they did have a pretty big win against the Philadelphia Little Flyers, where their offense just seemed to really get it together.
For sure. But that does it for the EHLP. Like I said, they have 11 games themselves between now and next Wednesday. So 10 more games in the EHL, 11 more in the EHLP to get us into the holiday break. So that is a chance, though, to keep accruing some fantasy points. So let's jump to fantasy now.
Now it's time for the eShow Fantasy Challenge. Follow along on the EHL app. Available now for free on both Apple iOS and Android.
As we start off each fantasy challenge segment, we
got some updates.
We reference our Yahoo League, and I don't know what.
Why do you sound annoyed? What's going on?
I don't know what took place yesterday.
Okay,
Some memo went out in our Yahoo League that said everybody offered Neil a trade for McDavid. And I must have received 30 of them yesterday, right? Like 1-for-1 trades. David Perron for Connor McDavid. Alex Lyon for Connor McDavid.
How about Sean Dursey for Connor McDavid? Why did I get rejected so
There
fast?
was only one McDavid
John Merrill in the 3rd round pick.
Yeah, there was only one McDavid trade that came over that I was like, and then
was it Anders Lee for Connor McDavid?
Someone put Sidney Crosby for Connor McDavid. So for a second, I didn't hit reject, but every other one, JT Comfort for Connor McDavid. Like, I'm not
Detroit
making
Red
these
Wings.
trades.
You love the Wings.
So I don't know what took place.
Billy Husso for Connor
I know that
McDavid.
the league now is excited to listen to this segment of our podcast. I don't know what memo went out, but that was incredibly annoying because every time I looked at my phone, it said so and so offers you a trade. Now,
love you, buddy. Love you.
I'll give.
You're welcome.
I think it was Tad credit. He apologized on the side, so he didn't rat out what took place. He said sorry for the chaos today, and I said, oh, thank you, I appreciate that.
Well done, Ted.
I did accept a trade yesterday because I'm not
Who's
the
coming
biggest.
into town? Who's going out?
I'm not the biggest fan of Matthew Tkachuk, Bruins fan, so it's what took place last year. So I actually traded him for Mason McTavish. So I was told by Justin that was a horrendous trade.
I got him in my fantasy league, but he's hurt right now.
I don't love that trade for you. I think Matthew Tkachuk will wake up at some point. He might be a loser, but all right, you do you.
But honestly, Jeff, I think I hit reject so many times yesterday that it was like I have to click the green check mark at some point, right?
Yeah, probably.
But like I must have received 30 trade offers yesterday.
Have you heard Jim McCabe's 2-minute rant on? He was talking about Anders. He sent you Anders Lee. I gotta send you something. I'll send it to you after. But our faithful Jim McCain and his C-Cane Chiefs 1-8 in last place. He's trying to figure it out in our Yahoo Fantasy, and he went on a little bit of a segment during his game yesterday about how Anders Lee, good player, Not the great fantasy player, doesn't always get points, but thought it was a good deal for McDavid.
So I got to figure out what memo went out to the league because, again, I hope you all had a laugh because I didn't.
We did.
I hit reject at least 30 times yesterday. I'm not trading McDavid. Okay.
Yeah, I'm projected to win this week. I might break my 7-game losing streak. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't want to
rooting for you, Jeff.
But for everyone in our Yahoo league that would like to have McDavid on their fantasy team so badly that you send me a horrendous trade offer yesterday, right? You can still have him or choose him in some capacity through DraftKings. So just do it on the DraftKings Sportsbook or through their fantasy app. And DraftKings, as always, has great offers for their customers.
Yes, they do. So go do a parlay, like Neil said. Maybe use McJesus. Maybe use someone else. Maybe use a little pasta if you're in Boston. But if you're going to do that, just go over and download the app and use the code THPN. And new customers can get $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on hockey. Yes, that is a true deal. You bet $5, you get $150 instantly in bonus bets. So again, that's code THPN, and it's only on DraftKings Sportsbook, which is an official sports betting partner of the NHL. The crown is yours. Bonus bets do expire 168 hours after issuance. Do you have a gambling problem? If you do, you can call 1-800-GAMBLER, or you can visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, you can call 8778-HOPENY, or you can text HOPENY. That would be 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. You can call 888-7897-7777. Yes, lots of 8s and 7s in there. Or you can visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. You can void that if you're in Ontario. Bonus bets do expire 168 hours after issuance, so you can see dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. NHL, the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2023. All rights are reserved.
So now to our EHL fantasy. At the end of the season, I think we'll do like some sort of fantasy all-star team. We obviously do our all division, all EHL teams, etc., etc. But if there's one goalie who's really been like the all-star of fantasy so far this year, it's got to be Cam Reardon.
Yeah.
I mean, he does get more starts than any other goalie in the league, but another 200 save month, which leads to 34.6 points. Adam Casper, 4 wins, 4 goals against in the month of December. So could be a goalie of the month, 28.2 points. I'm starting with goalies right now, as you guys can see. We mentioned the Express goalies earlier. All 3 of them were picked in fantasy. So really? Koenig with his one shutout is 9.6 points. Josh Girard has 2 wins in December, including obviously a shutout. So he's got 21.6 points. D. Champlain, this is kind of funny. He's got 3 wins in the month of December, but he's only had to make 41 saves.
Wow.
And he's only given up 1 goal.
That's light.
So he came in relief for a game. I believe that was the 6-5 comeback shootout win against the Wizards. And he's got 19.2 points. Sambo's 22.8 points. Who else stands out here? Skelton 13.2. So yeah, there's your goalie update.
Neil, did you go over the Philadelphia hockey goaltender, Cross Sherman? Yeah,
Cross Sherman. I should say that. You're right, Anthony.
He's the second highest scoring goaltender this month in fantasy.
32 points. He shut out the Bears. He gave up 6 against the Apple Corps. Then he shut out the Wolves. Then he nearly shut out the Chiefs, only to lose in overtime. That was a 1-1 game, I want to say.
That was a shootout. You were talking about the game yesterday. That was a shootout game. Yeah, so, Sherman was excellent yesterday.
So he could be even higher than 32, Anthony.
Yep.
So there's your goalie update. Let's work over to defenseman from there.
The Jack Costable show still?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is just like the
Automatic.
first month, right? 5 goals, 3 assists, 3 power play points, 2 game winners.
And Antwerp's been starting to become Mr. Automatic too, though.
Yep, 15 points for him with a pair of goals and 4 assists.
He's a human
one
highlight
power
reel.
play point.
Yep.
Keep an eye this weekend on Jim Fitzgerald. I mentioned Adirondack has 3 more games left against Vermont this weekend. He's already got 17 fantasy points, so he could be the highest point getter of all defensemen in the month of December. Tristan Boyer picked up a goal, 4 assists, 3 power play points, a shorthanded point, and a game winner for 17 himself. So, and they have a game left, as we mentioned on Tuesday, against Providence Hockey Club. Sliding over to the forwards, eventually AJ Lacus, the pace he was on was going to slow down. He still has 8 fantasy points, but it doesn't compare to the first 2 months where he, popped off the way he did. But look at Aiden O'Connell, 29 points. He had 6 goals this month.
Yeah, he's been unconscious since he joined the Wizards.
Yeah, Brooks Wright with a really good month for the P Railers, 24 fantasy points. Charlie DiMartino, he's been pretty automatic all year long for the P Express with 23 himself. Cole Davidson, speaking of Adirondack, keep an eye on them. 3 more games this weekend. David Bassin, or it could be Bassin. I don't know, guys. You guys
know we're going with Bassin, and Bassin. What's Jake say? Has he interviewed him yet?
He now leads the league in scoring.
He looks stupid with the Avalanche, too. He's got like 4 points in 3 games. Let's talk about Coach
stupid
Hughes.
in a good way.
Yes,
stupid in a good way.
stupid.
Yes, David.
Good stinky.
Yes, good stupid. Good stinks.
4 goals, 8 assists this month, 4 power play points, and 1 game winner for 33 points. I got to figure out this one for the second half of the season, Anthony. This hat trick for Santa Maria for the 87s was a P game, correct?
Yes.
So do we just count all games?
I
think we should.
A game's a game, right? Yeah, because Santa Maria is one of those in-between guys where he's bounced between the lineup with the EHL team and the EHLP team.
Yeah. So, I mean, that one hat trick itself was 12 points, 3 goals.
Yeah, I mean, he was great in that game against the Little Flyers.
So, want to call out Henry Cohen. Anthony touched on the Bandits earlier. They nearly won 2 games. They still got 1 win in the showcase, but he was big for the Bandits.
Yeah, he was. He had a couple goals in the game I called him.
Yeah, Jack Wyman's been pretty steady throughout the season, 24 fantasy points so far this month. Landon Adams, 13 himself. Speaking of Wizards, Jeff, how do I say this?
Mika Kalechian, I think we said.
Okay. 27 fantasy points so far in the month of December. And then the last one we'll highlight right here, Peyton Myers. 2, not 1, 2 hat tricks so far in December.
That's good for business.
So when you go over to our standings, I don't know many people at the top, but Joe Chase is there again.
Who's the first one? Logan, is that Life? Is that an I and L? What's
That's
that?
I.
I
2 L's. So his team is Basin Costable and Bose, and then Basin Mealy Reardon. So
Jake Hugeson in the top 10. Let's go.
Jake Hugeson picked himself, Anthony, right?
And he picked his former teammate, Van Antwerp.
Right? And Nolan Zotter. Not a good month for me. Not a good month for me. I'm down here at 42.
Me and Anthony are neck and neck. Look at us. 20
and
21.
Wow. Top 20. Yeah.
Ducks fly together, baby.
You know what I just thought of for a second, Jeff? You said, look at us. Look at this. Look at that. Look at this. Look at that.
Hey,
Have you heard that call yet, Anthony? Have you heard
God.
No, I haven't.
We'll send it to you as soon as we end the recording. We're not going to play it on this podcast.
I tried it yesterday with the Chiefs with Grolo's goal, so I don't know if I did Doug Roach any favors, but
but over 20 games combined between both divisions still left, so this could become a very tight race. We have Catherine Johnson here. I believe that must be Paul Johnson's mother, potentially.
Brooks Wright, I thought it would be Kevin Wright's mom, but that's all Railers.
Brooks Wright picked himself. Brooks Wright.
Oh, whoops. Sorry, Brooks.
Right back there at the top, though, same as last month. Marc-Andre Dumont picked the same 3 guys he had in November.
Wow.
Put it this way: if the only way I can get upset is if he wins twice in a row, right? Other than that, I feel content with wherever I'm at. So
you're in the round of champions.
Yes, the round of champions. That that will be another thing we have to keep track of during that last weekend of March. Is the final fantasy, which is going to be very hard to do, considering on Saturday, March 2nd, we have 21 games.
Holy smokes. That's going to be a record in one day.
Oh,
I think the previous record was at the Wick earlier this year. I think it was 16.
Yeah, I don't even have to look that one up. Look at that one up. That's a lot of games. It's a lot of games for the league. But speaking of games, there are still some left before the holiday break officially begins. So let's circle a few now and what to watch for.
And now here's what to watch for in the EHL and the EHLP.
What to Watch For is presented by Flow Hockey, the official streaming platform for your EHL and EHLP action throughout the 2023-2024 season.
I guess since I kind of teased a few of these already, I'll just say them all again. Tuesday, 11:30 at Sono Ice House, EHL, Chiefs versus Rough Riders. I know it's early, still in December, but that could go a long way to determining who is in and who is out potentially in the Central Division when all is said and done. For my EHLP game to watch, Sunday night, Express Warriors, two teams that basically have the same exact record and locked into the 3 and 4 spots right now in the Boston division of the EHLP. A big matchup for those two teams to wrap up their 2023 calendar year. Who wants to go next?
I'll go. I mean, can the Rough Riders stay hot? They got the Apple Core on Monday at Brewster Ice Arena, home of the Apple Core. So that should be interesting. Express, can they keep the shutout streak alive? Taking on a Seahawks team that's had some issues with scoring consistently. Spartans Avalanche, that's another great one as far as North Division standings are concerned. So, yeah, I mean, there's a few in the EHL as far as the EHLP. Let's see what else we got here. Adirondack taking on the Lumberjacks.
Yeah, that 3 and 3. Big series.
That's a huge series. So I'd say that's definitely the one to watch for there. Then you got Warriors Express. We talked about them tightly packed together in their Boston division. So that's another huge game there for the Premier. Definitely one to watch for.
I guess I'll start with the EHLP and I'll go with the obvious choice. First matchup this season between the 87s and the Renegades.
Hey,
and look, while the Renegades have slid a little bit, they are having a much better season. They're still at Hockey 500, 9-9-3, so very respectable. I also saw Lucas Carney just a few days ago, former Renegade, playing on a different team. But yeah, I'll have to go with 87's Renegades for EHLP. And I think for EHL, I think Maryland Philly Hockey Club is going to be a very fun matchup.
So Barty Party doesn't go into a shootout again for his
you got the Railers versus the other PHC, Providence Hockey Club. Because Neil brought it up, how Providence ended the 15-game winning streak for the Railers. And I think also East Coast Wizards and Seahawks. We'll see if the Wizards can really end it on a good note because they've had such a great season where the offense has sort of turned it around. And, they're a team that can score goals now. So I'll see if they can head into break on a good note.
Yeah, and maybe the Seahawks can play spoiler twice. Just did it to the Railers. Can they do it to the Wizards?
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't use your favorite line there, Anthony, about the Providence ending the Railers winning streak, and I took that personally.
Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe you can use that line Tuesday, depending on how the game goes. If
that was when I made my absentee ballot with the way too early Frozen Finals picks. I think the Railers just did not like my Apple Core pick.
Too funny. As we mentioned, though, there's over 20 games remaining combined between the EHL and EHLP, and we all get a chance to take a deep breath in and relax for a minute over the holiday break.
Namaste.
If you can't make it out to any of the games coming up before Christmas, remember, as always, you can watch them on Flow Hockey. We will have one more podcast dropped before Christmas. We're going to get it out next Thursday, as we typically do on Thursdays. And we will have one over the holiday break as well, a chance for us to reset our finals picks, see if anything changed in literally just 1 month. We made
yay.
them right after Thanksgiving. So anything changed in December. Remember, the Bears are on a 6-game losing streak. So a lot of people picked the Bears in our way too early picks. So won't get ahead of that just yet. But like I said, if you can't make it out to any games before Christmas, they'll all be on Flow Hockey. So you can catch them there. And we'll talk to you guys next week.
See you guys.
Thanks for listening to The E Show, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Learn more about us at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on all of your favorite social media platforms. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when our next podcast episode is released.